Hi, to demonstrate how HTML forms and its associated controls work, we will use the Visual Studio Code. Straight away, we'll open a new project or a new file, and then we can either give it a name. Let's have a name, form.html. Once that is done, we can decide to use the various tags and attributes that we have discussed in the previous class. In this case, today we are going to simulate constructing a form that would enable KC University students to set up their email accounts. So basically it's a KC University email account form. I'm going to have on this at the end my preview window so that we can follow up and see what is happening. So straight away I'll begin the coding with HTML coming in first, and then followed by body of this, and then after that we can have the title. If it's possible, we can say HTML forms, and then right after the title we are going now to have our form. Now it's right inside the form that we're going to have everything in today's class. So in this case, let's have a first header that's gonna tell people what is happening. This university email account. After that, we can have a paragraph that would at least talk about the first name. Now, what happens here, we want to pass our names. This first name it's like a label, just trying to show us that something is going to be passed there. So the next required control is the text area. So we can say input type, and then we are going to pass in text, and then we can see what is happening on the other end, and then we can give this control a name. Let's call it T1, and then we can specify its size. We can say there is also size around 20, and then after that I think we can finish with that by closing this input control, and the paragraph is definitely closed. Then after that we can have last name, and then we can still have an input type, then we can still have text coming in there, and then after the text we can give this a name, then we can say it's T2, then the size we can still give the same size as 20, and there it is. And then as usual we need to close up this input tag like that. Now after that we can have another paragraph, like it talks about desired login name. Now this is what is expected, or what we see most of the times, and we're still going to have this input type coming in here. So text, and then after the text we are going to have it given a name as usual. We can just give it a T3, and then size we can just give it a 20, just that size. And then after that we are going to close this, but then give something else just right after that, so that whatever email address you have will be completed automatically with the @gmail.com. Right. Okay. Now, next, what we're going to have is a password area that is going to help us do that. We can just quickly type here password, and then we have the password. It is there, and I think we can also give it a name. I think we're in T4, yes. And then I think size, we can just get a 20. It's fine. I think after that we'll be done with that. Oops, sorry. And then after the password, we can have now other information being captured from the users, like the gender. Now in this case, we're going to use radio. In this case, radio would bring this small radio option. So this is a radio, and then checked. It is checked. It would enable us, when we load the form, to have it already by default checked, and then from there we can always change the options. Checked, and then the name we can just give it gender, and then the value you can say this is the name. Right, so that I think we can close that one, and now show the mail part there, and then that's it. And then we have the input type again, right, coming right here. Okay, type, and then we still have got a radio, and in this case it checked, it's equals to false. After that, we give the name. The name is, sorry, gender, but the value is going to be different. Female. Now you can notice here that once I kept the same name, automatically we saw that the radio buttons shifted, and that shows that if you give it the same name, they'll all only give one option, or allow one option to be selected. Now this is a female, and then we can close this and then give the label there, female, and then close that like that. Okay, now we can have something else come here. We can decide to have the birthdays of the users. So a birthday dates. Now we have an input type by the name date, and once that is done, we can see what happens on the right hand side. We have the fields of days, months, and years coming into play. Now that's very important. We can name this as our T5. I think it's T5. Yes, it's T5. Yeah, once that is named as T5, we can close it. Right. And then after this, we can have some checkboxes to just mention people's hobbies. Yes, hobbies. So we can type here and then we can say checkbox, and then on this checkbox we're going to have its name, and then we can say this is T6, right? Yes. And then after that you can have the value coming there. You can say what you expect there is something to do with travel, and then we can close that one and say travel. Yeah, let's give it that way, no problem. And then we can close it that way, and then input type, yes, sorry, this checkbox is just right there, right? Yeah, we can give that one a name. We can say it's T7, and then value we can say we want to have this other OB as a read, and then we can always have a label that talks about reading. And then we can have an input type. Yes, checkbox there, name. Now this is T8, and then the value can be programming. Okay, and then after that we can close this one and have it as coding. Yes, and then we are after this we can have a small text area that would enable the users to describe something about themselves. So we can have a brief description about yourself. Okay, once that is done, text area, according to this, we see that the text area element represents a multi-line plain text editor. So we're going to have multiple lines editor control for the element's raw value. The contents of the control represent the control's default value. So this text area, we can specify the rows because it's a multi rows or multi columns. So the rows there, we can have about 10. You can see that's good space for somebody to write some few things. And then after that, we can also give it a name as a T9, and then on the other hand we can also specify the columns. We can also say 10, or no, let's do a 20. Right, 20 is fair enough. Good. and then I think that would be enough. Let me close this one. Well, then let me just close it like this. Yeah, so text area will be closed like that. Then finally, on this email account setup, let me account set up. Let me just have two buttons that will help me. Oh, that will illustrate how we can have BR. Let me just move to the next line. Oops. BR, there we are. So we can have an input type here. Then we can have submit. So once we do that, a button comes there automatically, and now we can give it a name. You can see it's in button 1v1, something close to that, and then the value is to send the value what is being shown there, and that is enough to display something. And then finally you can have another input type button here. It's for resetting everything, and then name you can just give it as a B2, and then the value you can be reset or something like that, and then you can close that one. So this is a brief explanation of how we can have a form and many controls being set up. Now, for example, we can now start filling up this, assuming that it's now running and we are happy that we are now setting up our account here, and then we can have a desired login. I expect it to be Mark or something like that, and in this case, instead of Gmail here, we can have it here as Kisi university.ac.ke. Yes, something close to that. So right here I'm supposed to have the Mark, yes, at Kiss University, and then my password is there, a secret password, then a mail, and then I can state my year, date of birth, blah blah. I can choose that one, and then I can say I love coding and traveling, and then I can say I am tall and short. Okay, something about myself. Sorry, that one might have gone off like that. And then after that, when I press this, I'm supposed to send it to somewhere. When I'm supposed to reset something. But generally, this is how a form is put in place. Otherwise, thank you and see you in the next class.